but we're learning Perek Vav now. I hope you're all with me now. If you'd like, I can unmute everybody as long as it's going to be quiet, and you can join in if you'd like. Okay, so I just unmuted everybody. So welcome to the Shiur. We're going to be recording this. We're starting in a moment. We're going to be recording. All right, so there is some noise in the background. Those of you who are signed in already, welcome. But I am going to now mute again everybody because we
it's noisy. It's noisy.
I'm muting everybody now. Okay, so we're going to start. Here we go. Everybody's muted. And now we're
always the same people.
Let's keep quiet. We're going to be muting everybody. Okay. All right. We are now muted. We're about to start the recording. 1 second. I'm missing my record button here. Hold on.
I started it. It started.
David, you're going to record it?
Yes, it started.
Started. Oh, okay. Okay. Welcome, Bruchim Aba'im, to the Shiur and Perek Vav. We start like we always do. Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek le'olam haba. All of Israel has a share in the world to come. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Va'amech kulam tzadikim. Yeshayahu Hanavi said, your entire nation is righteous. La'olam yirshu aretz. They shall forever inherit the land. Neitzar matoi, they are the branch of my planting. Ma'aseh yodai lehispa'er. They are the work of my hands that I may be glorified. We're on Perek Vav. And we're up to what is known as the second Mishnah, but really may be considered the first Mishnah. I'll explain why. Take a look at the first line in Perek Vav. You'll notice that this is not originally part of Pirkei Avos. It was added on later because it's a brisa. A brisa means it was learned outside the base medrash. And let me explain for those who don't know the distinction between a Mishnah and a brisa. In terms of law, both the Mishnah and the brisa carry very, very heavy weight in terms of deciding the law. But it's the discussion in the Gemara weighing those laws which were said in the Mishnah and those which were said in the Brisa, and making sense out of any contradictions that may have arisen. And I'll explain that too. Picture this. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, Rabbi Judah the Prince, called together a constitutional convention. The purpose of the constitutional convention was to write down all the laws of the Torah Shebal Peh, all the laws of the oral law. Now, I think that because we're dealing with this topic, I'm going to take the opportunity to explain once again the difference between the understanding of the unity between the written and oral law and those who think the oral law is like the game of telephone and therefore doesn't have to be followed because it's all messed up. Nothing can be further from the truth because we're not playing telephone. What we're doing is we're interpreting the Chazal, not we, our sages of blessed memory, interpreted the law not from outside reading interpretations into the words, but from the words extracting the interpretation that was given to those words by God to Moshe at Har Sinai. The belief in the transmission of the revelation of the Torah is a fundamental principle of Torah Judaism. There are two parts to the Torah, Torah Shebiksav and Torah Shebal Peh, and the proof is in Torah Shebiksav. The proof of all this is in the written law, because there are a number of references, and I'm going through this even before we get to our sacred Mishnah tonight. I'm going through this for the sake of anyone who may not fully understand the nature of the exact relationship and the perfect understanding of the combination of written and oral law. In the written law, example, in Parshas Shoftim, it says, you shall do kechol asher yorucha. The pasuk is saying, ki yipalei mimcha davar. If something is too wondrous for you and you don't know it, and it's bein dam ledam, whether it's blood to blood, meaning it has to do with kosher or non-kosher blood, dam, whether or not that dam is dam tahor or dam tameh, bein din ledin, whether it has to do with laws of justice and judgment between man and his fellow man, bein mishpat lemishpat, divrei rivos b'sharecha, bekamta, and you will get up, v'alisa, and you will go to the place that Hashem appoints. V'yagidu lecha, and the sages will tell you, v'asisa, and you shall do kechol asher yorucha, all that they teach you. All that they teach you. Now, if I have a book in front of me and all the law is there, I don't need to go to them. But it says you have to do kechol asher yorucha. You got to do to all the sages whatever they say, because they are the ones who are the repository of the explanation of the oral law. That's one thing. That's one thing. Here's another. In Parshas Re'eh, when talking about the laws of shechita. Now, just about every Jew knows that if you want to keep some of the basic commandments of the Torah, one of them, of course, is kosher eating, kosher food. How do you know if an animal is kosher or not? Because the Torah tells us that there are certain signs of a kosher animal. But that's not enough. In addition to having the signs of the kosher animal, it has to be slaughtered properly. How do you know how to slaughter properly? Where is the law of shechita mentioned in the Torah? Find a pasuk which says that you are to slaughter this way. There is none, my dear friends. There is not one pasuk that says this is the way to slaughter. The pasuk says, "V'zavachta ka'asher tzivisicha." You will slaughter the way I commanded you. Where's that commandment? That commandment was given over in the Torah Shabbal Peh, in the oral law. Without it, we don't have any idea of what slaughtering is. When it says, Lo sevashel gedi b'chalev imo, you shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk. That doesn't say anything about eating meat and milk together. It just says you can't cook it. Doesn't say anything about getting benefit from a milk and meat mixture that was cooked. It just says you can't cook it. Doesn't say anywhere in the Torah you can't eat it. Can you point to a place in the Torah where it says that on Sukkos you should take an esrog in your hand? Is there one place in the Torah where you find the word esrog? Not one. There is not one place in the Torah where you find the word esrog. Can you tell me of a place where in the Torah it says you have to fast on Yom Kippur? And there is no one who will say that the observance of Yom Kippur does not include fasting. But tell me, can you point to a pasuk in which it says you are to fast on Yom Kippur? There is not one pasuk in the Torah that says you have to fast and cannot eat. It doesn't say it anywhere in the Torah. It says the inisem es nafsho sechem. It says you should make affliction to your soul. I don't know what that means. If you don't have a Torah Shebal Peh, you don't know what that means. Another question. Can you tell me where in the Torah it says you are to write the Shema and V'hoya im Shamoa on a piece of parchment, roll it up, put it in a case, and place it on your doorpost? Do you have any place where it says that that's what you should do? So you'll say, yeah. It says, Uchesavtom al mezuzos beisecho v'sharecha. You should write it on the doorposts of your house and on the gates of your cities. Okay, I'm going to take out a pen, I'm going to click it, and I'm going to go over to the doorpost, and I'm going to start writing Shema on the doorpost. If the pen doesn't work, I'll get a pencil. If that doesn't work, I'll get a paintbrush. And if I can fit it in on the doorpost, kol hakavod. If I can't, I'll write it on the top, maybe on the other doorpost. Where does it say you have to write it on a piece of parchment and put it on the doorpost? There's nowhere in the entire Torah does it say that you are to put it on your doorpost, unless you have a Torah Shebal Peh. There's nowhere it says you have to fast if you don't have the Gemara in Yuma, which explains what the Inisim Es Nafshosecha means. And there's nowhere in the Torah that it says the word Esrog. And if you don't have the word where it says pre-Eitz Hadar, and the Gemara in Sukkah explains pre-Eitz Hadar me'ilana ba'ilana mishana l'shana, it's the fruit of a tree that dwells on the tree from year to year, and that's why it's called a beautiful tree. The tree itself is beautiful. Why? Kitam ha'etz kitam ha'pri, because the taste of the bark is the same as the fruit. That's how I know it's an esrog. It's amazing. And there's not one. Rabbi say, I challenged, I'm not challenging you, I'm putting out a challenge. And I'm asking, if anyone, and if you do, unmute yourself and answer me, can you come up with one law that you can know from the Torah Shebiksav without the Torah Shebal Peh? Can you name even one?
Matzah and Pesach.
How much matzah?
Oh.
What is matzah? What is matzah? Do we know from the scripture what is matzah? We don't know what matzah is. So how are you going to fulfill it if you don't know what it is? And you don't know how much to eat? How would you know? So matzah is not the answer. If anybody else can think of something and you want to chime in, please let me know. Okay? I guess nobody has an idea that they can point to. But don't feel bad. I've been searching for years. There's not one. I haven't found one.
What about a bris?
What?
A bris.
Bris Milah?
A bris.
Bris Milah, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me which pasuk says that the Bris Milah is made on the male organ? No, you can't, because it doesn't say that. It doesn't say it anywhere. It hints at it, but it doesn't say it. Can you tell me what is considered the full fulfillment of the making of the bris? Does it include all the steps that we know as the Gemara in Shabbos? And
How about Shabbos? How about keeping Shabbos?
What about keeping Shabbos? What can't you do on Shabbos?
Lois Fariaish.
How about
So that, in other words, I can't light a fire from before Shabbos and let it burn on Shabbos?
It says Lois Fariaish. You're not allowed to light a fire.
It doesn't say light. It says you're not allowed to burn a fire. Savaru means burning. The word boer means to burn. Lo savaru eish means you're not allowed to burn a fire on Shabbos. Does that mean I cannot have any fire in the house on Shabbos? Isn't that interesting? Do you know that the lighting of candles on Friday night is dafka to prove that Lo Savaru Eish does not mean you can't have fire in your house on Shabbos. The reason we light candles is to demonstrate that what you can't do on Shabbos is light the fire, but not burn the fire. And you can have hanoah from the fire, and you're not chayev on shvisas kelim. The entire law of lighting candles Friday night, which is not midah it's midah rabbanon, and the rabbanon instituted it davka in order that we know that you're allowed to have fire in your house on Shabbos. Isn't that amazing? So that's not it either.
How about making a makkah?
What about Pidyon Ben?
Okay, we'll go one at a time. Making a makkah. What is a makkah?
And it doesn't say that you have to make a preventive.
Where on the roof?
On the roof.
What's a preventive? What's a preventive? What is the preventive? Oh my goodness! This is ridiculous.
The Rebbe has to Google.
No, they just picked it up. Listen to this. Listen to this. What is a makkah? A makkah is a balcony that has a proper fence high enough that someone shouldn't fall off, right?
Right.
It says, "Vasisa makkah ligagecha." You should make a fence around the roof. How high is that fence? Where does it say how to make the fence? Does it say that it must be 10 feet high, 4 feet high? How high do you make it?
It says that you got to make one.
But
It doesn't
how
make
do you
it.
make? How do you make it? How do you make it? What is it? If I put up a string, is that good enough? If I put one string up, is that good enough?
It's not a protective. A string is one
It says
protective.
caution, don't go further. No. How high does it have to be? Preventive. Preventive for what? You know? And how high off the ground does the gog have to be? Let's say you live underground, which many houses, by the way, used to be that way in Eretz Yisrael, for the very simple reason that it was very hot and they couldn't live above the ground. You go to Susya, and you'll see how the houses were mamish built underground, like a basement. And they only were above the ground a foot or two. You have to put a makkah up on a roof that's only a foot or two off the ground? No. How do we know that?
Rebbe, don't laugh. What was the question? What is the question?
My point I'm trying to make is that when we talk about the Torah Shebiksav and the Torah Shebal Peh, there is no such thing as a way to understand Torah Shebiksav without the Torah Shebal Peh. There's not one mitzvah in the Torah that you could do, as far as I know, without an explanation that's found in the Gemara in Torah Shebal Peh. There's not one. I have not found one.
What about, as I said, Pidyon Ben?
Okay, so Pidyon Ben is great. A great example, right? Right? So,
right.
So, right. So you have to be poda, the young man, right? By giving 5 shekel, the shekel HaKodesh to the Kohen, right? Right?
Right.
All right. When do you do this?
30 days after he's born.
On the 30th day or on the 31st day?
On the 30th.
No. It's got to be done when the 30th day is completed. On the end of the 30th day, not in the morning.
Right.
But at the end of 30 full days.
Okay.
Okay? So how do we know that? It says on the 30th day. When on the 30th day? When do you do it on the 30th day? Do you do it in the first thing in the mornings, Visa Magdim Lemitzvahs, like by the Bris Milah? Or do you do it at the end of the day? Because you need 30 full days. So it's not clear.
What about when it comes out on Friday?
In addition, can you give the person a check for $5? Doesn't say you have to give him silver dollars. It just says you have to give the $5. You have to give 5 sloim. Can you give the equivalent of 5 sloim? Could you give him 5 sloim worth of cheese?
Yes.
Is that so? Is that so? Can you? And how would we know whether you can or you can't? So only way we would know is when the Gemara explains to us what the laws of Ben are and to whom you have to give it. Which Kohen? Can it be any Kohen? Does it be a specific Kohen?
How about Shemitz Masa?
Okay, so you have to give Trumas Meiser means you have to give a 10th of your Meiser, right? It doesn't mean a 10th. It just says you have to give Trumas Meiser, a separation of your Meiser. How much is Trumas Meiser? We know it's a 10th of your Meiser, but how would we know it's a Trumas Meiser is a 10th? Truma in other places doesn't say a number. So it's all out from comparisons. It doesn't say.
And how about Shemitah? Shemitah Noivel.
Okay, what does Shemitah mean? You should desist from your friend. What does that mean? How do you observe Shemitah? How do you do it? What do you do with Shemitah? Can you?
That you're not allowed to grow your field.
What is considered growing? How much is planted? What if I started planting before and it grows during Shemitah? Can I use it? Can I sell it?
Not really.
Sure. If it was rooted 30 days before Shemitah, I can sell it. It's not considered Shemitah produce. How do I know that? It doesn't say it anywhere. The genius is in the details. And you don't have any details. We don't know any details. And Yovel, do you know that there is a major machlokes in Masechta Rosh Hashanah when Yovel is? Is Yovel the 49th year when you finish 7 Shemitahs? Or is Yovel the 50th year? That's a good question because it's not resolved. And to this day, it's machlokes in the Rambam as to whether or not we hold the 49th year is Shemitah and Yovel, or the 50th year is the 7th year Yovel.
We'll know when Yovel is, right?
Right? Because it is. We have a question of when Yovel is. Exactly right. Well, we can pass it according to the Rambam, and we can say that this is when Yovel is. But we don't know for sure, and besides which, we wouldn't know until the Torah tells us in the Torah Shabbal Peh. And consequently, we can keep searching. You know, people say, oh, what about Kabed Esavit Vesimecha? Oh, yeah, sure. What's considered kavod? You know, how do you know what kavod is? We don't know what kavod is. We have no idea until the Torah Shabbat Peh tells us what kavod is.
The virus.
What?
The virus.
I can't hear you.
COVID-19.
Oh, COVID-19. Okay, cute. Yashikaya. Okay, let's get back to the Mishnah. My point was that there's a Mishnah and a Brisa. So let's go back. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he called together a constitutional convention. The purpose of this constitutional convention was to write down all of the laws of Torah Shebal Peh, which a lot of original Tanoim were very against, because they said, we know that there's a rule you can't write down which is oral, and you can't say that which is oral, and you can't say by heart that which is written. You know, you're not allowed to say psukim by heart unless you know the psukim very, very well. So the answer in the Gemara, Eis Lasos Lashem Eiferu Torah. It's a time to do for God because the Torah is being lost. Under those circumstances, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi wrote on the Mishnah. Now, he called a convention. he called a constitutional convention. And he called together all the Rabbanim of the day.
Is it?
What?
Okay.
So we'll have to mute you because I don't know what's going on here. Okay. All right, we're muting all. Okay, everybody's muted. Okay, he called together his constitutional convention and got all the rabbis of the day together. And Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Yehuda were in one group. And he told them, you people are going to discuss the constitutional laws of Zera'im. And then he told another group, Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch, you guys are going to do all the laws of Nezikin, and so on. And then after they do that, everybody switch and do the same as the other one. Then let's record all the laws that we know, all of them. Let's record them all. And let's agree on what they are. And those were the Mishnayos that were put together by this great group of rabbis in the Constitutional Convention. They debated them, is this, and they came to a conclusion and they redacted it. It was redacted, meaning it was finalized by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi in his brilliance, and that became the Mishnah. Now, while this Mishnah was going on, while this Constitutional Convention was going on, and all the people were in the Constitution Hall, they were all in, I don't know, I guess they rented a MetLife field because they had a lot of rabbis. They needed 90,000 seats for the rabbis to get together and learn it all. So they got a big stadium like MetLife Stadium, and they met all the different groups. But there were some rabbis who couldn't get into the Constitutional Convention. And sometimes the rabbis that were in the Constitutional Convention had to leave to go out and get a vacation because it was going on for a long time and they just had to clear their minds. So they went out to get I guess they got a hot tea because they didn't have, any Corona beer. Yeah. So they went out to get a hot tea, and crumpets. And while they were out there, they were discussing what they were doing inside. And they came up with new laws that they forgot to mention. And those laws were set outside the hall. That's called Braisa, because Braisa means outside the hall. So there are Mishnayos inside the hall. There's Braisos outside the hall. Both said by the same people. Both have the same power. Only sometimes there were contradictions between them because they were talking about different cases. As the Gemara goes on to explain. This case was talking where the ox was wearing blinders. And that one was talking where the ox was not wearing blinders. That's why there was a difference in the law. And that's the Mishnah and the Brisa. Over here in our Mishnah, it starts out, Shanu Chachamim B'Lashon HaMishnah. The Chachamim began with the Lashon of the Mishnah. They learned. Baruch Shebachar Behem U'Mishnasam. Blessed is he who chooses to learn their Mishnah because they have the tradition. This is a very, very old tradition, which has not changed since it was put in place and is learned today by hundreds of thousands of Jews. 95,000 of them, almost 100,000 of them were in MetLife Stadium. Plus, there were thousands in other stadiums when the Siyum Hashas took place. Hundreds of thousands of Jews are learning this every day. And it's been going on like this for thousands and thousands of years. 3,000 years since it was put down. Well, since it was written down as 2,000 years. And therefore, we have the Lashon of the Mishnah as a direct line, not telephone. Because the Torah Shebiksav is written. And take a look in the Gemara. As soon as someone says one thing out of line, all the rabbis jump on him. That's ridiculous. How could you say that? You ever walk into a Beis Medrash? You see what goes on in a Beis Medrash? I remember learning in the Beis Medrash at the Fedesh Yerushalayim. I was sitting, about 8 rows from the front in the early years. Rav Moshe Zatzal was sitting in the front of the Beis Medrash. And on my left, all the way in the first row, were two famous Kollel rabbis who had sat and learned in that Beis Medrash all their lives. They were there for 40, 50 years learning in the Beis Medrash. And they were Charusis. They were the best of friends. But you should have heard them when they didn't agree with each other. What they would say one to the other in Yiddish. Du bist a Scheute. Was redst du? Du weißt gar nicht. An am Haaretz mit der Reise. And the other one say, Ich bin an am Haaretz mit der Reise. Du bist an am Haaretz mit der Reise. And would yell at each other like this, and they loved each other. But why did they say this? Because they disagreed. And you know what happened? After 2 or 3 hours of this going on, each bringing a raya, the other one said, oh, das ist du gemeint. Oh, that's what you meant. Oh, Taka. Yeah, das is good. And that's the way they learned. So you should know they were blessed because those who studied this Mishnah until they didn't let anything get by. You can't get that past me. It doesn't make sense. I'm not allowing it. You better clarify. And that's what we need to do. And that's why the first line of the next Mishnah says, Rabbi Meir Omer, and it's not a Mishnah, but it's a Brisa. As it says, the Chachamim learned in the language of the Mishnah, but it wasn't a Mishnah. It was a Brisa. Rabbi Meir Omer called ha'osek b'Torah l'shma. Anybody who learns Torah for the sake of the study of the Torah, zoche l'dvarim harbei. He's merited for many things. V'lo, and not only this, ela shekol ha'olam kulo k'daihu lo, but that the whole world is fit for him. By the way, we've been learning this particular Mishnah even before Yaakov Shweki made this into a song and made it popular, Baruch Hashem. But that's what it is, Kol ha'olam k'daihu lo. The whole world exists just for that person who's learning Lishma. That's it. So when we come together on the weeknights and we study Torah Lishma, Kol ha'olam kulo k'daihu lo. The whole world is fit for us. It's worth it. Our learning brings about all this Lishma. Now, I really wanted to get into this Mishnah, but I used up the time very rapidly, unfortunately. And so tomorrow night, Amir Hashem, we are going to continue with this Mishnah. And we'll try to make sense out of what Rebbe Meir is saying and all the wonderful things that accrue to someone who learns Torah Lishma. I want to thank everyone who participated when we threw out the question. I'm unmuting everybody for a moment. I want to thank everybody who participated in that give and take because it brought out beautiful, beautiful ideas of how it's so hard to understand the Torah Shebiksav without the Torah Shebal Peh. She'll be Zoche to Lidvarim Harbei, and the whole word should be Kedai Hu Lo. We are now going to go to the Mishnayos.